Hello, my name is Ryan Fleming. I'm the pastor of the Revolution Church. In back of me you see the building here on the corner of 3rd and Lake Street in Gary in the Miller neighborhood. And it's been an incredible ride doing ministry here in the city. I wasn't born here. I was born out in the middle of suburbia country area on the east side of Elkhart. And then in 1999, I knew the Lord was leading me to ministry, and the location that He pinpointed was Gary, Indiana. So in January of '99, I moved into Glen Park, and I've been there since. It's been, wow, 17 years. Learned a lot, seen the beauty of the city and the challenges. And I'm just excited to be a part of what God is already doing. So in the last several weeks, our country has been bombarded by thoughts, by media, by social media, and talk about the killings of Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, as well as the Dallas police massacre that happened just a couple weeks ago. And that's on the heels of several other high-profile police shootings of Black men in particular. And during the course of this, as well as just as a normal part of who we are as a Revolution Church and who I am as not only a pastor, but a husband and a father, I knew that we needed to have a dialogue related to race, reconciliation, and the church.
Once again, I'd like to welcome you all being here this evening. One of the goals, there's been a lot of town hall meetings, a lot of discussions, a lot of marches, a lot of rallies. I'm big on having an experience, and out of that experience, we have some things that we can actually carry back to our respective communities and actually put some things into action.
It was interesting listening from commentary to news to social media. I would hear many people talk about some of the problems, vent out of frustration, mourning, anger, and so on. And then some people were asking, where's the church? Historically, the church has been a cornerstone of the community, and the church sometimes is viewed as voiceless or is not present in the discussion.
It sounds awful familiar to the passionate discussions that my wife and I have, the arguments that we have, where out of my own pride, I will entrench myself in a viewpoint and sometimes go on attack with her because I don't like how it feels to have my stuff exposed. And I don't like to take personal responsibility for being insensitive or treating her in a way or not doing something that I needed to do. So what we want to do in this is begin to ask a question. Okay, so we're talking about race, we're talking about reconciliation, we're talking about the church. Before we get into before we point the fingers at different things, which is easy to do, it's easy for me to do, we need to point the fingers at us and ask the question, what must I do in this conversation? What must I do in this dialogue related to race, reconciliation in the church? And so what we wanted to do is just open it up. Maybe it's in the form of question. Maybe it's in the form of you have a thought related to this, and maybe there's some experience that you've had where this is like an aha moment, right? Or this is something that you've wrestled with. And so yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. This is not preaching time, and I want to hear from y'all. What are some things that come to your mind and your heart related to this?
Grew up angry black kid. Didn't like white people. Didn't want to see them. If a white guy was driving the bus and I got on the bus to go to school in the morning, I looked at him like, "What you doing in my neighborhood?" You know, his job. But I had to ask myself this question: what if I was wrong about what I thought about white people? What if I'm totally off, totally wrong, and they're not as bad as I think they are? I had this kind of moment where I said, out of all the things that I'm angry about, and at that time I didn't know it was systematic, stuff I was mad at. I was still young and dumb, so I really didn't know. But I said, you know what? That guy, and that guy, and that guy, whatever I'm mad at, they didn't do it. And so that was kind of a heart change and a mindset change for me as a kid, black kid from Chicago, growing up listening to Public Enemy.
So tonight what we're doing is a dialogue for change. And we wanted to look at what it means to have a conversation, a safe conversation about race, about reconciliation, and what are we gonna do from here?
Sometimes this responsibility is thrust upon you based upon the nature of who you are and where you're at. And so I tell one of my black young mentees, I tell them all the time, the higher up you get in certain industries, there's gonna be less people who like you. That's part of the cost, part of counting the cost. And so sometimes the person's responsibility is bigger than us.
Having been born in the Bronx, New York, I came from a very diverse community. And then moved to Boston for school, and then being married to my husband, we moved out here to the Midwest, which was a huge cultural difference. Huge cultural difference. Best friends calling, do you know that the KKK started up there? I mean, we had our issues in New York. I mean, nothing's ever perfect, but coming to the Midwest and hearing about the stories about what transpires out here, I'm proud of where I am, but going into the Elkhart Community Schools especially, and I started teaching. I've been a music teacher for 19 years, and a woman was doing new teacher orientation, and at the end she came up to me, she's like, I want to introduce myself. I'm blank, blank, blank. I was the first black music teacher in Elkhart, and you're the second. There's only been 2 black music teachers in Elkhart Community Schools, K through 12. I'm coming from New York, where we have a lot of music specialists and arts of people of color. I always tell people to this day, I either broke stereotypes of black women, as far as, oh, not all black women are allowed, or no, all those other stuff, or I confirmed them. I don't know. It depended on the day. But I knew I had a responsibility, because from the adults to children, was going to have an encounter with me, which was very rare, and that was a huge responsibility. So if I spoke very passionate about why are black boys littering the office? Why is they're disproportionately being suspended? Oh, you just mad because, no, I mean, I brought issues to administration that they didn't want to hear. And so I was, but I had to be who I had to be.
That you have prejudice, but you don't feel it. I guess because you have so many nationalities, so many stuff out there that's not, you don't feel it at all. And then moving here to Gary, I was like, what the heck? Even though I'm in between people that are my color, still I'm different because I'm Hispanic. My conditions are different.
basic areas. One is personal responsibility, second is community cooperation, and third is systemic accountability. And we're going to dialogue about that. It's not just going to be a teaching or preaching or one or two people talking. It's going to be a guided, facilitated dialogue about these issues. And then our goal is not simply to have a conversation, but then to look at what are some things that we can actually do. What are some action points that we can do individually, collectively, and then as we look at systems in not only our city but in our country, of things that we can see change occur.
This is a great conversation, right? And I just appreciate being here. Interesting. I grew up in Elkhart. It seems like, did everybody grow up in Elkhart in this room or something? I went to Concord High School, and thinking about this issue of personal responsibility, something that I recognize is that we have a disconnect because we don't seek connection. And I'm not talking about you or I'm talking about me. And you know what it is we get into these comfort zones, right? You get with people that you know, and you're comfortable around people that you know, and then you don't seek out connection with anybody else. And sadly, that even happens in the church.
Everybody, God bless you this evening. I'm Keith Stone. I work with the city. I'm a supervisor of public works. I don't know, this new to me. My family's mixed. I come from a neighborhood that was some everybody. My younger lifestyle. I've sat down. I used to be a young gangbanger. I sat down with the Area Nation. I've sat down with Black Kings. I don't know. I've never had a racial issue. I've always had a good and bad issue. My whole life, my neighborhood, my own children, my mom's dad. My mom was raised down south, her dad's white. So my whole family is mixed. Hawaiian, Greek, Puerto Rican, German, Indian, in my own household. As a kid, my neighborhood, my friends were Greek when I was a kid. They were Puerto Rican, they were Mexican. When I grew up younger, it became gang. Through a lot of bad choices that I made, of being incarcerated. I was one of the only black dudes that sat down with the Area Nation. They sat down, a lot of my guys, they didn't use the N-word with me, you know what I mean? And when I was, doing some stuff that I shouldn't have done, county, places like that, the Latin Kings, because I was one of a peacemaker. I kept the deck peaceful. When we was locked down, plotting. And I was always the guy that people came to, look, man, the deck's gonna go off, they're gonna tear it. White dudes did things. If I didn't like it, they would just give your white dudes. That's how I always felt. When my guys would be, oh man, such and such, there's a little bar down the street, Thumbs Up, by Miller Pizza right here. They used to stay out here in Miller when I was younger. I was one of the black dudes who stayed in there. I shot pool. The whole place was full of white people. My kids. I don't know. Maybe I was fortunate in that area where I really never had a race issue. Not just me. My brothers, my sister. I have a brother. He has kids who are Hawaiian. I have kids. I was a fornicator. When I was younger, I wasn't married. I had a lot of baby mamas. One was Puerto Rican, another one was Indian and German. But all my kids get along. For a lot of bad choices, but God takes some wrong and He turns it into something wonderful.
I am well aware that the 2 hours we have tonight are not enough to even begin to scratch the surface of all the issues. And so it is my hope and prayer as well that this begins to be an ongoing dialogue. That is not just simply a time and point in time tonight, but it's something that will begin to spark further conversations, more relationships cross-culturally, cross-racially, engaging multiple churches and even across denominations to have a real conversation about race, about reconciliation, and how we can be impactful in our communities.
Ryan and I, we're going to come down and join you in the circle. Ryan and I on the stage, and we're feeling important because we're the moderators and the facilitators, and we're kind of elevated on the stage, you know, so it's us over there and you all over here, and we're standing, so we're kind of literally over you all, and you're submitted to us looking up for wise counsel. And that's all fine and dandy. But it's important that even those who have been in the game a little bit longer recognize the same way Christ did, and he came down and dwelled among the people.
My name's Rod. I'm from Suncrest Christian Church in St. John, Indiana. I live in Crown Point. But I did need to give a little bit of background because my background is quite different from most everybody else. The New York City connection was interesting. I grew up in small town rural America. I grew up on a farm. My dad was a farmer. Went to high school, graduated from a class of 32 people. Went to a big state school, Iowa State University, graduated with a class of 5,000. And I always wanted to be those kids was in the city. And one thing that really surprised me when I got here was where I grew up, it was culturally and colorfully very monochromatic. Everybody was white. Didn't have a black kid that I knew in the county. And when I got to college, that changed a little bit. I would imagine the population of Iowa State of the black population was probably 15, 18, 20%. So yeah, fairly close to what it is probably nationwide. So, you know, got to know a few people there. Even dated a girl from New York City, who just, by the way, happened to be James Worthy's niece. I always thought that was really cool. Well, now I'm dating myself, so I'm glad about looking at who was James Worthy, right? One of the Los Angeles Lakers back in the glory days. Okay. Yeah, big game James, right? But here's what surprised me when I got here was the population of the area was, you know, roughly 50-50, and yet there was so much hatred between the races. I really thought it would be where people would, you know, get along because they've been together for so long. But I was shocked at how people stayed in their own areas. Whites lived here, blacks lived there. People didn't like each other, people didn't trust each other. And I was really shocked at the hatred. And so that was really surprising. And for me, growing up, I'm probably falling on the side of being naive, you know, the racial tensions and things like that, probably just by the fact that I was surprised. So that's a little bit about me.
In the discussion on this issue, I think one of the things that is missing, even nationally, is acknowledgement. Anything else, as he, maybe even as he shared, or maybe some other thoughts came up, anybody else have anything percolating?
I can talk about what we do with City Life Center, but I think there's more value in Will and Stone. We all are members of Bethel. I think there's more value in the fact that our campus is a multi-ethnic campus. So you had all these white folks who came from Crown Point, Bethel Church in Crown Point, and at the same time you had all these black folks who were coming from our current pastor's old church, and then guys like me and Will and Stone who just kind of came in and said, yo, we like it here, we're going to be active members. I guess we're kind of attracted toward leadership, or we're in leadership, all in a room together talking about how we were going to make this multi-ethnic campus work. And one of the things that we decided to do was not be afraid of the racial issue, right? And that we were going to, on purpose, have offensive conversations. We were going to ask each other offensive questions. Are all black people thugs? Are all white people racist? You know, I mean, just go all in and be cool with it and love each other and go have a burger after we just got finished offending one another. And so that was kind of, I mean, fellas and that was kind of the approach that we took to it. And so now you see all of these beautiful relationships that are happening. Now, like Mike Olson is just Mike Olson. He's not this white dude at our church named Mike Olson. He's just Mike. So when we don't refer to the white Mike and the black Mike and the Hispanic Mike. It's just Mike Moss. You know, you call him by their name. And as a result, a beautiful thing happened in the midst of what we are going through recently. Everything's going down. It's the night after the police got shot in Dallas. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I don't care about saying anything. And Mike Olson, aka White Mike, he texts me and he says, "Hey brother, how are you doing in the midst of everything going on?" I kept it 100. I'm pissed, I'm tired, I'm upset, excited. I had a list of things that I was feeling. And he said something that I thought was so beautiful. He said, "I don't understand, but I care." And that was so powerful to me. And I said, maybe at Bethel we're getting there, right? So when we talk about community cooperation, this community exists inside the framework of our congregation, our campus, our church. But I believe that, and so right now the challenge is we're trying to figure out how do we make what's going on in here and with one another spill out into the community? How do we, not in a way where we're showing off or bragging and saying, hey, you know the way, but just to say, man, if you just, and somebody said it earlier about getting outside your comfort zone and all that, if you just build relationships with folks, some of these issues that we have, you just kind of wake up one day and say, oh, we don't even think about that stuff.
My name is Will. Like Ken was saying, I'm a member at Bethel Gary. I would just like to speak to the point, to the question you just asked, because Mike actually asked me the same thing that he asked Ken. And I also had a list of things that I was going through. And just to hear that, it's such a sign of relief, because it's a good feeling just to know that somebody understands. Even if they don't feel like they're a part of the culture, but they understand. And it breaks down barriers. So now we can have a conversation. I think that is the first step of recovery or healing our society, is acknowledgement. Because a lot of times in the media, we don't see that people even acknowledge. They like to either ignore it or deflect from it. And that just acknowledging it is a sign of relief. And I'm a member of Bethel Gary, been over there for about over a year now. Just like Ken was saying, it's a multicultural church, kind of mid-sized and small. Before there, I was a member at FCC Family Christian Center in Monster, which is a bigger church, and it's multicultural. You see all cultures in there, whites, blacks, Hispanics, everybody. But the difference between me being in a smaller multicultural church is we're a lot like family. I've only been there over a year, just a little bit over a year, and I've been in FCC, what somebody may call a mega church for maybe 10 plus years. But But in my over 12-month experience at Bethel, everybody is like a family. We don't look at each other as, like he was saying, white Mike, black Mike. Everybody, we hug each other, we shake each other's hands, we have real conversations. And we also got a thing over there we started called Empathy, where we mentor the youth, young men and young women, and it stands for Experiencing Power in Christ. And we do this on Fridays, and we just try to relate to the young men and women over there too, and try to steer them in the right direction. So that's where we at, and just hope that we can begin to move forward in this healing process in society.
One of my favorite ministries that we do, and our biggest ministry, is at Pierce Middle School. And we also do an after-school, kind of like a tutoring. So, if you don't know Pierce dynamic, Maryville is probably 80% African American, probably about 10% Hispanic, with a few white kids mixed in. And so, when you first, me as an old white guy, walking in, and I know that my job, we've been there for 2 years now, my job is to go into the lunchroom and start talking to kids. And so, for me, you know, I can talk to kids, but knowing that there's a gap, you know, and trying to understand that gap. And really setting yourself up to say, you know what, there's going to be some tough times here. There's going to be some kids that, and it happens, kids look at you and say, what are you doing here? You know, why are you talking to me? But I just said, I'm the big one, I talk to me, you know.
Now we have, according to this scripture, the obligation, the mandate to seek justice, help bring about justice, to challenge the oppressor, to defend the poor and the widow. And so we're going to conclude tonight's discussion with this section on systemic accountability. What are some things that we can do as a collective that we can't do on our own? What are some of those things? So this would be the time to discuss maybe when you think about some of the issues going on with police brutality, that's a systemic thing. When we think about school systems that are failing our children, that's a systemic thing in poverty. So maybe let's hear from some of you. What are some of your concerns about some of these systems that you think are broken? And we also want to hear from you that maybe you already have an organization that you've collaborated with that's helping to combat against these systems.
The beauty of our differences, racially, culturally, physically, ethnically, those are gifts from the Lord. One of the topics of discussion the last couple of weeks, and even months and even years, related to policing and particularly black males, was the issue of their humanity.
New group called Iron Sharpens Iron, and like for me, 3 years ago, like was just growing up, like I've heard stories about racial conflict, in elementary school. They used to show like this movie Bridges, movie every year, you know what I'm saying? All this other stuff. And like when I was younger, like yes, I had hatred towards white people. It's like why they doing this type of stuff? And I was just like, well, I'm gonna do my own thing. And I'm listening to my family members because most of my family members don't like white people. They might be joking around. Sorry about that. They might be joking around, but it's like, you can really tell that they have anger towards white people. Or like, oh, they always use the term white man. You know what I'm saying? This white man, this white man, that. And so, just, being around that when I was younger, it's like, okay, I know not to, interact with the white man. But that all changed. And like my sister, with Iron Sharpens Iron, she was in the first group or whatever. And, I'm looking around, I'm like, all these white people, all these older white people trying to connect with young black kids, how that work out? That's not cool. I'm like, where the black people at? Where the older black people at? And I don't see them. And and then when I joined the group, I still had that same interpretation. Like, man, how this, white dude trying to tell me something about my life? You know what I'm saying? How? But think like one of the beautiful things is, God showed me, I have pride issues, okay? So, I feel like in some cases people can't really tell me nothing. I feel like I got it all figured out, but, I don't know if you know him, but his name is Corey Lance. He revealed that to me like, hey man, you keep having this spirit of pride, you're not gonna get nowhere. And then like over time, I learned to love white people. It's like, not all white people are bad, you know what I'm saying? Here you have these people. It's sad in the African community today. There's some active leaders, but there's not enough. I don't have people, holding me accountable. I don't have black people holding me accountable for my grades and making sure I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm seeing this all coming from a white man or white people, and I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe not all white people are bad. So then over time, I've gotten angry with myself, with my peers who are black, and it's like, man, why are we doing these things? But yet, it's like we always try to point the finger at white people. Oh, because of white people, I can't be successful. I can't get good grades. I can't do this. I can't do that. And we just making excuses. And like, the past couple of weeks with the shootings and stuff, Corey, he took a few of us to a cafe, and we was talking, and he just asked a question like, okay guys, how you feel about what's been going on? And I'm looking like,
block. Because it's not fun to live in a neighborhood where a lot of dope is being sold and drive-bys are happening. But God broke my heart for him, the man. That God created him in his image, just as he created me in his image. That's a challenge when we're faced with stereotypes, when we're faced with history, when we're faced with what a culture is saying. They look just like him at times. And I have to actively fight what I grew up with. Just like you in your situation. We can start talking too much. But just muse on that.
Before something happens locally, we can already know where we stand in God's Word. We can know where we stand with each other. We can be part of the process of healing in our communities instead of just being reactionary. So that's our hope tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time.